I only took the job because I was desperate. Rent was late, my part-time warehouse hours had been cut, and my college classes were all online that semester. When my friend Darren told me his uncle needed a temporary night guard for an office building, I agreed before even asking the details. He told me the same sentence 3 times. Dude, you literally get paid to sit. The building was located outside the city limits, nearly 15 minutes past the last open gas station. The road leading to it was a 2-lane industrial access road with no streetlights. When I drove there the first night, I actually checked my GPS twice because it felt like I was going the wrong direction. The darkness out there was different, not neighborhood dark, not city night, but the kind where your headlights feel too small. The office building appeared suddenly out of that darkness. 6 floors tall, wide glass front entrance, and a massive empty parking lot surrounding it. No other buildings immediately nearby except a warehouse across the road that looked permanently abandoned. I parked near the entrance and noticed something immediately. No other cars, not even employee vehicles left overnight. Inside, fluorescent lobby lights hummed softly. The place looked clean but lifeless, like a staged office nobody actually used. The floors were polished tile and every footstep echoed far louder than it should. A middle-aged man in a security uniform waited at the front desk. "New guy?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't introduce himself at first. Instead, he handed me a small ring of keys and a radio unit. Walk every floor once an hour. Start at midnight. Elevators lock at 1 a.m., so you'll use the stairs. Then he finally said his name was Mr. Keller, Day Supervisor. He showed me the security office. A small room beside the main doors filled with old monitors, 18 camera feeds, slightly grainy quality, and a desk with a logbook. Before leaving, he paused at the doorway. Then he said something that at the time sounded like a joke. If you hear someone walking on the 3rd floor after 3 a.m., don't go looking for them. I laughed. He didn't. And then he left. I was alone in that building. Completely alone. At first it was peaceful. Midnight patrol went fine. I walked all 6 floors, checked doors, checked bathrooms, and came back down. The building made normal noises, air vents, metal settling, distant ticks inside walls. At 1 a.m. I did another patrol. Still nothing. By 2:30 a.m. boredom hit hard. I was scrolling my phone in the security office, feet on the desk, listening to the low electrical hum of the monitors. Then I heard it, a faint sound through the ceiling, footsteps, slow, deliberate, directly above me. I lowered my phone and listened carefully. Step, step, step. Someone was walking on the 3rd floor. I checked the front doors, still locked. No alarms triggered. No elevators used. No entry recorded. I looked at the monitors. Camera 14, 3rd floor east. No way. At the far end of the hallway stood a man. He wasn't moving. He wasn't pacing. He was facing the camera, perfectly still. I remember leaning forward in my chair, convinced it was a coat rack or shadow. Then the motion detection box outlined him in red. It was a person, and I had never heard anyone enter the building. My radio was sitting on the desk beside me. Before I even realized I was doing it, I pressed the talk button. Security here. Building is closed. Identify yourself. For a second, nothing happened. Then the radio produced a burst of static, and a voice answered, not from the hallway, from my radio. You shouldn't be here tonight. I checked the channel indicator. It was the internal frequency. No outside connection possible. My hands started shaking. I stood up, grabbed the flashlight, and stared toward the stairwell door. The footsteps above me started again, this time faster, and moving toward the stairwell, right toward me. The footsteps were no longer distant. They were right above the security office, now heavy and steady, like someone walking with purpose. The sound crossed the ceiling slowly, and then stopped directly over the stairwell door beside me. I stared at that door. It was locked from my side. I had checked it during my patrol not even 30 minutes earlier. The stairwell doors automatically locked after 1 a.m. so no one could access floors without a key. The handle moved. Very slowly, it pressed downward. I didn't breathe. The door opened, about half an inch, and then stopped against the metal security chain that was still hooked from the inside. I know what I saw. Something had tried to come down the stairs, but it hadn't unlocked the door. It had simply opened it. The chain stretched tight and began to shake as pressure pushed from the other side. Not violently, gently, like whoever was there was carefully testing it. I backed away until I hit the desk. The radio crackled again. "You're not the one I expected." The voice was clearer this time. Male, calm, Almost disappointed, I forced myself to speak. "Who is this? How are you on this frequency?" Instead, I heard a soft knock on the other side of the stairwell door. 3 knocks. Then silence. The pressure on the chain stopped. The handle slowly returned upward. The door closed on its own. I waited a full minute before moving. My first instinct was to leave the building. I seriously considered it. My car keys were in my pocket and the front doors were only 20 feet away. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. I sat back down and checked the monitors. Camera 14. The hallway was empty. I felt relief immediately, real relief, like maybe it had been a prank, some maintenance worker with a radio. Then camera 15 activated. That camera faced the stairwell exit on the 3rd floor. A man stepped out of the stairwell. He walked into the hallway, slowly. The same figure. Dark clothes. Hard to see his face because of the low emergency lighting, but I could tell something was wrong about how he moved. His posture was stiff, almost unnatural, like someone who hadn't walked in a very long time and was remembering how. He stopped in the middle of the hallway and looked directly into the camera. Then the feed distorted. Horizontal lines cut across the screen. The image stretched and compressed for 2 seconds. When it cleared, he was closer. Not walking closer, just closer. I whispered to myself, "Nope." I grabbed the logbook. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely write, but I noted the time. 3:18 a.m. Unknown male on 3rd floor camera. Possible intruder. I picked up the phone and dialed the supervisor number Mr. Keller gave me. It rang. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. The radio turned on by itself. I wasn't touching it. Static filled the room, loud enough to echo. Then, "You didn't see me before." My throat tightened. "What do you want?" Several seconds passed. Then the voice said, "I waited for the other guard." A chill ran through my body. "What other guard?" Silence. Then the monitors changed. Not glitched. Changed. Every camera feed switched to the 3rd floor hallway. 18 screens all showing the same angle, the man standing there, except each monitor showed him slightly closer than the one beside it, like a progression. Far away on the left monitor, closer in the next, closer, closer. Until the final monitor on the far right showed him standing directly in front of the camera, and I could finally see his face. He was wearing a security uniform, old style. Different logo than ours. His skin looked pale gray under the emergency lighting, and his eyes were fixed forward, not at the hallway, at me, because the camera he stood in front of fed directly to the monitor in the security office. He wasn't looking at the camera, he was looking through it, at me. The radio whispered again, "You're sitting in my chair." At that exact moment, I heard a sound behind me. The security office door handle moved. I slowly turned around. The door I had locked was opening. From the outside, the handle finished turning. I was certain I had locked that door. I remembered checking it twice after hearing the stairwell noise. There was no reason it should open. But it did. Very slowly, the security office door pulled inward with a soft creak. The hallway outside was dark except for the faint emergency lighting reflecting off the tile floor. For a moment, I thought maybe the night supervisor had come back. Maybe this was some horrible misunderstanding. Then I noticed something that made my chest tighten. I couldn't hear footsteps. The door had opened, but no sound of walking followed. No shoes on tile, no movement, just silence. I grabbed the flashlight and pointed it toward the doorway. Nothing stood there. The hallway was empty. I waited, listening, convinced someone was standing just outside my view. The air in the room suddenly felt colder than before, the kind of cold that creeps the clothing. My breath finally became visible in front of my face. Behind me, the monitors flickered. I turned around. All 18 screens had changed again. Every camera now showed the security office from different angles that didn't exist in the building. One showed the office from the ceiling corner where no camera was installed. Another showed the room from inside the hallway facing directly at me, sitting in the chair. And on each monitor, I could see myself, except I wasn't alone. Standing directly behind my chair on every screen was the same uniformed guard from the 3rd floor. But when I slowly turned my head to look behind me in real life, there was no one there. My radio clicked. "You're late," the voice said calmly, as if speaking to me in person. "You were supposed to walk the floor with me." I couldn't speak at first. My throat was completely dry. "What, are you?" I finally whispered. No response came immediately. Instead, one of the monitors zoomed in on the 3rd floor hallway by itself. The camera moved even though the system had no remote controls. It pushed closer toward a section of wall near the elevators. I leaned closer to the screen. There was a dark stain on the carpet, something I hadn't noticed earlier. The radio spoke again. I waited there. I called for help. Nobody came. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. "What happened to you?" I asked. The temperature dropped even further. My hands began to shake, uncontrollably, not just from fear but from cold. The answer came slowly. I couldn't leave my post, and then I understood. The newspaper article. The guard who died here. He wasn't just appearing randomly. He thought he was still working. Suddenly the hallway outside the office echoed with footsteps fast, this time running toward the door. I looked up just as a shadow passed the frosted glass window of the security office. The door slammed shut on its own. The lock clicked. I rushed to it and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't open. I was locked inside. Behind me, the chair slowly rolled backward across the floor by itself, stopping directly beside me, as if someone had stood up from it. The radio whispered right next to my ear, "Your shift isn't over yet." Then the monitors went black, every single one. The room fell silent except for a faint sound coming from above. Footsteps again. But now, they weren't on the third floor. They were on the ceiling directly over my head, and they had stopped moving, like someone was standing still, right above where I was sitting. The footsteps above me didn't move. They stayed perfectly still, directly over the security office ceiling. I didn't even want to look up anymore. Every instinct in my body told me not to. The monitors were still black, no cameras. No way to see the hallways. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Not even one bar. That didn't make sense. I had service earlier all night. I even checked messages around 2 a.m. Now it just showed no service. I went back to the office door and forced the handle again. Locked. I grabbed the keys Mr. Keller gave me and tried each one. None worked. The lock wouldn't even turn, like the keyhole was jammed from the other side. Then the radio turned on by itself again. This time there was no static, just breathing. Slow, steady breathing, like someone standing right beside the microphone. "Please," I said, not even sure who I was talking to anymore. "What do you want me to do?" A long pause followed. Then the voice spoke quieter than before. "Finish the patrol." For a moment I just stared at the radio. "You want me to check the floors?" No answer. Then the office door unlocked. I heard it clearly, a metal click. My hand was still on the handle. Slowly I pushed. The door opened into the hallway. The air outside felt colder than inside the office. The lights that had been on earlier were now dimmer, almost yellow instead of white. The building looked older somehow, like I was seeing it years in the past. I stepped out. The lobby was empty, completely silent. Even the hum of electricity was gone. I walked toward the main glass entrance doors, the ones I used earlier to come inside. I froze. They weren't there anymore. The entire glass entry had been replaced by a blank wall. Not damaged. Not boarded up. Just a wall, as if the building had never had an exit. My breathing got faster.
No. I ran to where the door should have been and pressed my
hands against the surface. Solid concrete. I turned back toward the security office. It was gone too. In its place was a long hallway stretching into darkness. The building layout had changed. The radio whispered from my belt, "You're on duty now." My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the flashlight. But at that point I realized something terrifying. The only direction left was forward. So I walked. Each step echoed far louder than it should. My flashlight beam seemed weaker, swallowed by the darkness ahead. Office doors lined the hallway, but their numbers were wrong: 201, 202, 203, second floor numbers. But I hadn't used the stairs. I turned around. The lobby behind me was gone, just darkness. I was no longer on the first floor. I slowly reached the end of the corridor and saw the stairwell door. The same heavy metal door I had seen on the cameras earlier. It was slightly open, and faint light came from inside. As I approached, I heard something from the stairwell. A voice, not from the radio this time, from below me. A man speaking weakly, like someone exhausted. "Security, please respond. I see someone on the third floor." My heart nearly stopped. I recognized the words. They were the same words from the article I had read about the guard who died here. I was hearing his final call. I slowly pushed the stairwell door open. The stairs spiraled downward into darkness and upward into dim light. And standing halfway up the stairs was the security guard. The same uniform, the same pale face. This time I wasn't seeing him on a monitor. I was seeing him in front of me. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring past me, as if I wasn't there at all. He lifted his radio to his mouth and repeated, "I see him. He's standing at the end of the hallway." Then, slowly, he turned his head and finally looked directly at me. The moment his eyes met mine, everything went completely silent. Not quiet silent. The faint electrical hum of the building disappeared. The air vents stopped. Even the soft ringing in my ears from fear faded away. It felt like the entire world had paused. He was standing halfway up the stairwell, one hand gripping the railing, the other still holding his radio near his mouth. Up close I could see details I couldn't on the cameras. His uniform looked older, faded, stitched with a security company name I didn't recognize. His badge was tarnished. There was a dark stain spreading across the front of his shirt. He looked confused, not angry, not aggressive, confused. For several seconds he just stared at me like I didn't make sense to him. Then he spoke, but his lips didn't move. "You're not dispatch." The voice came from everywhere around me at once, echoing softly through the stairwell. My throat was tight, but I managed to answer. I work here. I'm the night guard." His expression slowly changed. The confusion turned into realization, and then into something worse.
Fear.
You came after me, the voice said quietly.
I shook my head. "No, I started this week. I think you died here." The stairwell lights flickered once. For the first time his body moved naturally. He stepped down one stair toward me. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. The cold around me intensified so sharply my hands started hurting. "I never left," he said. Behind him, further up the stairwell, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A shadow. Not his shadow. Something darker than the darkness itself standing at the top landing of the third-floor hallway. It wasn't shaped like a person exactly, more like a tall silhouette that bent slightly at the ceiling. It wasn't moving, but I knew it was watching. The guard followed my gaze and slowly turned his head toward it, his face drained of what little color it had left. "That's him," he whispered. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. "Who is that?" The stairwell lights dimmed again. "I thought it was a person," he said. "It stood at the end of the hall. Every camera showed him, but when I went upstairs, nothing was there. Then I heard it behind me." His radio suddenly burst to life in his hand, replaying a voice, distorted and faint. A recording. His own voice. "Security to dispatch. I'm on the third floor. I see a man at the end of the hallway." The recording cut into static. He looked back at me. "I wasn't reporting an intruder," he said quietly. "I was reporting it." The shadow at the top of the stairs shifted slightly. Not a step. More like the darkness itself leaned closer. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath turned to fog in front of my face. The guard stepped back toward me, closer now than he'd been before. I could see his eyes clearly. They looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in years. "It won't let the shift end," he told me. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "It needs someone watching." The hallway above creaked, a long, slow creak. The shadow stretched downward along the stairwell wall, growing longer as if reaching toward us. "I stayed because I thought help was coming," he said. But morning never came for me. I realized what he was saying. The building wasn't replaying the past. It was trapping him in it. And now, it had trapped me too. My radio, clipped to my belt, turned on again. But this time the voice wasn't his. It was deeper, right beside my ear. "Replacement accepted." The stairwell door behind me slammed shut on its own. The lock clicked, and the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the stairs. In that darkness I heard one last thing. Footsteps. Not his. Something else was coming down toward us from the third floor. The darkness was absolute. Not the normal kind where your eyes slowly adjust. I couldn't even see my own hands in front of my face. The flashlight I was still gripping had gone out completely, like the batteries had died instantly. But I could hear it. Footsteps above us. Slow at first, then another step, then another. Each one echoed through the stairwell metal railing, vibrating faintly under my fingers. Whatever was on the third floor was now descending. I whispered, "What is that thing?" The guard stood beside me. I couldn't see him anymore, but I could feel the cold around him. "It followed me that night," he said quietly. "I thought I left it upstairs, but it follows the position, not the place. I don't understand." "You took the shift." My heart sank. The footsteps were closer now. They didn't sound like shoes hitting concrete. They sounded heavier, like weight pressing into the steps instead of walking across them. Then a new sound joined them, dragging. Like something long sliding slowly along the stair edges as it came down. My radio crackled again at my belt, but this time the voice didn't whisper. It spoke clearly. Observe. The stairwell lights flickered once, just one flash, and in that single instant I saw it. It was 3 steps above us. It wasn't shaped right, too tall for the stairwell ceiling. Its back bent sideways against the wall, its arms longer than a human's, hanging nearly to the floor. Its face wasn't really a face, just a darker patch within the dark, but I could feel it looking directly at me. Then the light died again. I stumbled backward and hit the locked door behind me. "I can't stay here," I said, panic finally breaking through. I grabbed the handle and pulled hard. Still locked. The guard spoke urgently now. "You have to complete the patrol." "That's impossible." "It won't let. Leave until someone finishes the shift." The footsteps stopped, right in front of us. The air pressure changed. My ears popped painfully like I was deep underwater. I could feel something inches away, though I couldn't see it. My radio lifted slightly off my belt, pulled outward as if by invisible fingers, and the talk button pressed itself down. My own voice came out of it. "Security on duty." I hadn't spoken. The guard whispered, "It's assigning you." The door behind me suddenly unlocked. The handle turned by itself. The stairwell door slowly opened back into the hallway. Faint emergency lighting returned beyond the doorway. "Go," the guard said softly. "If you finish what I couldn't, it might release you. And you." He didn't answer for a moment. Then quietly, "I think morning is waiting for me." I stepped into the hallway. It was the 3rd-floor corridor, the same one from the cameras. The carpet, the office doors, the vending machines, everything exactly as I had seen earlier. Behind me, the stairwell door shut on its own. I was alone again. My radio spoke one final instruction: "Check all rooms." My legs felt numb, but I walked. Office 301 locked, 302 empty, conference room, 303 storage. Every door I opened felt heavier than the last. The building was silent except for my breathing. Halfway down the hall, I noticed something new. At the far end, someone was standing there. The same place the cameras first showed the figure at 3:12 a.m. Except now I realized the truth. Before, I thought I was seeing the dead guard on the camera. I wasn't. I was seeing myself. The figure at the end of the hallway was wearing my clothes. My flashlight hung from his hand. He stood completely still, facing me. My heart pounded violently. Slowly, the figure raised its radio. My radio spoke at the same time. "Shift complete." The lights instantly came back on, bright fluorescent light filling the hallway. I blinked. The corridor was empty. No second figure. No shadow. No guard. I heard birds outside. Morning. I ran downstairs. The front glass doors were back. Sunlight poured into the lobby. Cars were passing on the road outside like normal. At 7:02 a.m., the day supervisor walked in and stopped when he saw me. "You look terrible," he said. "Rough first week?" My voice shook. "Has anyone ever died here?" He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Only one guard, long time ago. I quit immediately and never returned." Weeks later, I checked the building's online employee records out of curiosity. There was a staff photo archive. 1998 security personnel. The dead guard stood in the photo wearing the old uniform, and beside him was an empty space. The caption under it read, "Night shift partner unassigned." Sometimes at exactly 3:12 a.m. I still wake up, not from a nightmare, but because I hear a radio beside my bed crackle softly, followed by a voice asking, "Are you watching?"